All right, hi, this is Tony from Barlow Roots. Just wanted to give you a garden update. It's mid-August, so we'll see where the garden's at. This is our chicken tractor, and we had our runner ducks and turkeys in this. We've got 24 broilers, white Cornish cross meat birds that'll be going in this in the next couple of weeks, and we'll just kind of pull it around the orchard here. And they fertilize the grass and eat the bugs out of the grass and things like that. So it's a pretty neat system. It's the first time we're going to be trying it with the meat chickens. We did it with the meat ducks and it worked really nicely. So this is a new project we just did. We got 3 loads of wood chips from a local tree service company, and so that's a real blessing when we get those. And we're doing this wood chip gardening in the garden, something that we've been learning a lot about this year, and we've decided to put some around our trees too. So this is one of our apple trees. We have our one lone apple. Apple trees are still pretty young, so we've got that one done, we've got this one done, that one done, and then we've done all of our cherry trees as well. Over here, so you can see those are all mulched around as well. And eventually, depending on how many wood chips we get, we may actually put wood chips down across almost everything, so we don't really have to mow back here anymore. So we'll see if we ever get to that point. But these are our squash. What we do with these is we actually just break open 5 or 6 of last year's squash and put them in the compost bin, or the compost pile, and kind of just bury them. And this is what happens. So these are going to be, I think, butternut squash, and we should have a lot of those. They're looking really healthy and growing really well. We got about 3 inches of rain yesterday, so that should spark everything going, as long as we can get some more nice hot weather too. We've got some pumpkins and other stuff going here. Moderately healthy, hasn't done real great, but over here you can see that we do have some pumpkins. Now these will be pie pumpkins, so a little bit smaller. See one of them there. And I think these are different versions of squash here. Into the garden, these are Brussels sprouts, and they're doing pretty good. So we'll see if our season goes nice and long. We should get a really good harvest of Brussels sprouts, which Brussels sprouts from the garden are pretty amazing. They're like nothing, not like Brussels sprouts you think of. These are dried beans, so you plant them and you basically let them die, and then you pick the pods, and those will be good for soups this winter. That's one of the big things we're working on in the garden, is just growing more things that we can keep with us through the winter. Broccoli, looks like we could pick some. A lot of it's bolted or gone to seed here, so that's probably seen its better day. But we enjoyed a lot of great meals of broccoli. Zucchini plants back here. Just recently pulled some monster zucchinis out of there. And back here in this weed zone, we had onions, shallots, and potatoes. And we actually had a pretty good run of onions and potatoes. But that's one thing we're gonna try to do a little bit better next year, is get a few more of those. Looks like there's a few potatoes sitting right there. So let's see, what else do we have in here? Some basil, another round of lettuce for salads. Got some pepper plants going there. Moving into our tomatoes. These little cherry tomatoes are doing really good. Yellow pear cherry tomatoes. These are getting really close to ripe. We're not going to have nearly the number of tomatoes we've had in the past, just because we planted and planned things a little bit differently. Trying to have a little bit more organized garden, and in the process we just aren't going to have the volume. So it's a good learning lesson, but in the future we'll probably try to mix methods and find something that works really well. We've got this it's not really a blight, but a little disease on our leaves, so we're losing a lot of leaves from our plants, and we'll see if that's a big issue or not. Something that we're gonna have to figure out at some point. But this trellis here is growing really good with a lot of tomatoes. So this will keep growing as long as we can continue to get some warm weather. We'll continue to see these plants grow up this vine or up the strings as we tie them on, and we should keep that going until we get the frost. So we need some hot days is what we really need for these tomatoes. Got a bunch of these bush style tomato plants here. A few more hot days and we should see a lot of these start ripening up. They're just lying on the ground, a little messy, but they've done pretty well. So hopefully we can get those tomatoes to ripen up. These sunflowers were a colossal mistake. They're just absolutely enormous and shaded out 2 or 3 rows of tomatoes on this side and killed out our cucumbers on the other side. So that was a good lesson learned. Got some of these massive tomatoes. Look at this guy. Just huge orange tomato. So he'll get ripe here pretty soon, and that'll be a good one. Knock the slugs off him. So over here is where we have a lot more of our tomato plants. There's TC the cat doing some pest management. So these are a lot of Romas and San Marzano tomatoes. And this whole row is all Romas and San Marzanos. I think there's 45 plants in here, and so we'll have a lot of tomatoes off of this. Pepper plants, our pepper plants started so slow, but they've caught up a little bit here recently, so we should have some peppers. These are all pepper plants over here too, mixed in with some herbs. Here's a giant sunflower. So yeah, it's absolutely huge. So tomatoes here, peppers planted in between. See, we're getting some fruit there. There's TC is getting ready to catch a mouse. Here's that leaf fungus that we've got. I think it starts with an S. We've identified it. It doesn't affect the fruit in any way, but it just kills off the leaves. And as long as your plants keep growing, they can kind of stay out of it. Zinnia is really pretty. Our basil looks like it's on its last leg. We'll have to make some pesto. Lots of dill coming up. More peppers, more tomatoes. Kale. If you want to start a garden and you like kale, plant it. It grows so easy and you pick it all year long. We have had a ton of kale salads. Absolutely awesome. These were peas and lettuce. We've ripped them out and replanted, so we should have some peas and lettuce for the fall season, and then turnips. So we pulled all those turnips up. I was hoping the pigs would eat them, but they don't seem too interested, and we didn't end up really liking them either, so we'll have to find a use for them. This was where we originally had our peppers, and they just didn't grow very well. So what we did is we ripped all those out, replanted them in those other beds that you saw, and we've replanted this all in green beans. So this will all be bush style green bean plants. We're hoping we get just a ton of green beans to put in the freezer. In the middle there, it looks a little empty, that's carrots. And so we're hoping we can get a little fall crop of carrots. So that's the garden update. We've been learning a lot about this wood chip gardening. Thinking we're figuring things out. I'll do a full video sometime on exactly what we've learned from the wood chip gardening, but right now it's starting to rain pretty good, so I'm going to call this video over. Thanks for tuning into Barlow Roots, and stay tuned for more videos.